and from Brookhaven, Georgia. And let us begin. Okay. Let us begin. We're in chapter 10. In the last chapter, in chapter 9, we spoke about a battle, that their life is about struggle. It's not about making a livelihood. That's not where your struggle should be. God should bless you that you don't have a struggle in there. It's not with your neighbor. It's not with your spouse or your children or your loved ones. That's not where the struggle and the battle is. The battle is within. Within myself is the battle where it should be happening. By the way, if we do battle from within, then from without is a different way to live. We live totally different. We own our lives. We're in control of our lives. And we have a much more meaningful and real life as a result. What is the battle between? It's not between do I gain more from this or from that in life? Because then that's that's the same side of the coin. But it is from two different beings that we have in us, complete beings, two souls. We have a soul that is coming from Klipa, from a negative source, which is self-directed, excuse me a moment, which is self-directed soul, called the animal soul. And we have the godly soul, right? One is in the right ventricle of the heart, the animal soul, and the godly soul is in the brain. And they have, as we spoke about in chapter 9, and I'm going to discuss more about that, battle between them. Now, there is an individual in this chapter, in one word, is tzaddik, the righteous person. Who is a righteous person? What does it mean righteous? For most people, righteous means, you see, the goody good shoes who's always doing good stuff and never say a bad word about somebody. Never says a bad word about somebody. Oh, what a righteous person. That's not a righteous person at all, as we will learn. Can be a wonderful person, but not a righteous person. A righteous person is someone who caused the divine soul to prevail over the animal soul, to wage such a war to the extent that it banished, eradicated that animal soul entirely. Well, I shouldn't say entirely, right? The animal soul, again, in the left ventricle of the heart, banished it. To what extent? So we're going to learn about two different levels of a tzaddik. A tzaddik she'ena gomer, an incomplete tzaddik, a tzaddik that knows some vestige of negativity and evil. What does it mean that a righteous person would know some evil? How can they be righteous? So there's nothing in any self-expression of evil. In other words, thought, speech, and action. Because if you think evil, talk evil, do evil, then you have a stain on your soul. As we will learn in the next chapter, chapter 11, we'll speak about a rasha, what it means, the definition of an evildoer. Here we're speaking about the righteous person. So such an individual does not have a stain on the soul of any self-expression of any negativity, an urge that is expressed, I'd really want to have pleasure in that food or in that activity. That will never come to the incomplete righteous person. So then what makes him incomplete is because he isn't converted in the depths of the heart, which is on the subconscious level, in the heart, the urges for something that is an end in itself that's not godly, an urge for some human pleasure. It might be minute, but it hasn't been converted entirely, the animal soul, into good. It is still some vestige of evil that has not, evil meaning over here, and it's very important. Evil does not mean evil doing. Evil means the urge for that which is self-directed, self-absorbed, which is, could be the pleasure, and it could be pleasure for good stuff. But being that it's a self-directed pleasure, that is evil. In other words, it's not directed towards God, who is good and only good and all good. So such a thing, and imagine, what does that mean? That you can transform the urges of your heart that are not even expressed in an action, not even in speech, and not even in thought, right? And that's what a righteous person. So this incomplete righteous person didn't convert it entirely in their heart. In other words, in the depths of their heart, not in any conscious way. So very minute. So what the Alter Rebbe says, let's explain what this means. So a complete tzaddik means they only know good. They only have good inside of them. Inside of them, again, not in their behavior is only good. That's not a definition of a righteous person. Behavior meaning your actions, your speech, and your thoughts, cogitated, meditated thoughts, right? The complete righteous person doesn't even have an urge for chocolate. I gotta tell you, I like chocolate. And in my soul, there's an urge from the animal soul for chocolate. Now, I may not talk about it, even though I am right now. May not think about it even, right? But do I have the urge there? Yes. Do I have the urge for some kind of form of comfort and just seeking, physical comfort on a nice chair or couch or whatever? Yeah, that's there in me. I'm telling you all my secrets. Is there anything of an urge in my heart for any other form of pleasures? Yeah, we all have that. You know why? Because we're not righteous. A righteous person doesn't have that. A complete righteous person does not at all have a desire to gratify a physical appetite. The only appetite they have and the only pleasure they have is the service of God. Actually goes even further. The idea to enjoy something for the sake of enjoying, for the sake of a mitzvah, is a different thing. But to enjoy food because it's enjoyable on the palate is actually the antithesis of what a complete tzaddik would be, and you would actually hate that. Why? I hate it. Why would you hate it? Just, don't engage in it. Because if you really love God entirely, then anything that's the antithesis of God, you're going to hate. It's just like if you really love your child, anything that will be the antithesis of your child or harming your child in any manner, you're going to hate. That's going to go against your child, you're going to hate. Well, that which is for God is connecting to Him. Doing a mitzvah, what we're doing now, studying Torah. And the other mitzvah that we do, right? Anything that's the antithesis of a connection to God, that is a disconnect, right? So in other words, eating, and I do it, we all do it, and it gratifies us. Or we even have the urge, even though we might be mindful that it's about serving God, but we still have the urge of the self-gratification. It means we're not a righteous individual. Not complete righteous. A complete righteous is not only doesn't have the urge, but hates it entirely, the notion. Now, that doesn't mean to go around berating people who have that. Not at all, right? That wouldn't be a righteous person either. But despises anything that's the antithesis. Why? Because when eating for pleasure, where is that vitality coming from? As we learned previously, from klipa. And klipa is the antithesis of God, because klipa is the shell, and it's covering over on God. By a tzaddik, there's only about God and the presence of God and connection to God, and God being revealed. Anything less than that, there's no reality for the complete righteous individual, because they have transformed the urge that they have in their heart from the animal soul that is self-directed, that is now only an urge, for God. That's pretty awesome and pretty lofty. So again, anything that's antithetical to connection to God, the tzaddik hates it. That's why, by the way, I'm very few complete righteous people in any generation. And even someone who did not transform it entirely, the urges of the heart, but has transformed and will never act. And acting in Judaism, behavior is not just actions, not just speech, but also thought. So the incomplete righteous person means that they don't absolutely hate that which is antithetical to God, that which is spiritual klipa of negative force, right? They don't hate it absolutely. There's some vestige of a urge, a love towards that pleasure. So again, it won't be expressed in any way in thought, speech, or action, but subconsciously, deep down in the soul somewhere, it is therefore they're not actually converted completely to good. There's some minute form, vestige of that negativity, and therefore it's not completely subjugated. It's the evil. It's surrendered, but not totally, and therefore that's called an incomplete tzaddik, righteous individual. By the way, good morning and welcome to the fact that we're eons away from what means a righteous person. And by the way, this is defining the righteous person in the book of the intermediate. In the book of the righteous, which was a book the Alter Rebbe wrote but got burnt because the world wasn't ready for it, there's much deeper understanding of what it means a righteous individual. Be it as it may, though, what we've learned over here, the concept of a righteous person is so dedicated to God that not every waking moment and every moment of their lives is dedicated to God. It's way beyond just because dedication is usually defined by our behavior. This is way beyond behavior. This we're talking about an urge in your heart, a perspective that's it's way beyond us. That imagine that there's no urge at all to have any pleasure in anything that you engage in unless it's directed towards God. So you can the pleasure of eating something on Shabbos, even that for the tzaddik it will be a complete tzaddik will be a different. It's not about the any physical pleasure. It'll be far and above and beyond that. Not to say that there wouldn't be, and it will be expressed in some physical way, but it's where they're at is totally beyond. All right, that's today's class. From Nicaragua, Verado, thank you for joining. Michelle from the Netherlands, shalom. Cindy from Idaho, Boker Tov. Franklin from Nigeria, welcome. Cora from Iran. Well, getting from everywhere. From Brisbane, Clem, of course. Susan from Israel. Wow. Kletas from Nigeria. Wow. Doesn't Isaiah say all of our works are filthy, meaning none are righteous? No. Thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. But no, again, Torah speaks to the multitude, to the general audience. Obviously, the general audience is not righteous. That's, I think, we can safely say, according to what we just learned over here, right? So when Torah is speaking to the general audience, For example, in the Shema, we say, "Lo yisasur achrei nechem achrei levavchem asher nechem zenim achreim." Do not go astray with your heart's desire that your eyes lead you astray. So, as the Alter Rebbe will explain soon in Tanya, well, that's not speaking about to the righteous, right? Because the righteous don't have that issue. That your heart shouldn't lead you astray. Their heart is, pure. So, because Torah is speaking, Arev Tadaber, on the majority of people. The majority of people are not righteous. But thank you. That was a very good question. Okay. Jenya, good morning. John from North Carolina. Reza, Boker Tov. Shaheen from New York, good morning. Karina, good question. Susan from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Linda from Nebraska, good morning. Jeffrey is with us from Toronto, shalom. Mary from the Philippines, good evening. Darren from Saskatchewan. Benjamin from Indonesia. Oh, we got from all over today. It's wonderful. Rob, shalom. Susanna, shalom. Jane Boker Tov from Illinois. Adel, shalom. David from Solon, Ohio. Eleanor from the Netherlands. Good afternoon. Jacqueline from Texas. Shalom. And Susanna from Florida. What about King David? And his son died only a few days old. He didn't eat, but then he got up and ate. His son died. I'm not exactly certain what the question is. Prayers for Australia. Yes, our prayers. Gavin from Munich. I'm not certain what that meant. CGI in Melbourne. All right, folks. Sharing is caring. Please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Gedeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day.